Good evening, everyone. I hope you're well. How are you guys not bored of the sound of my voice this weekend by now? Because I know I really am. So thank you to see. It's great seeing so many faces, or names, I should say, in chat that were with us all day yesterday on the 7-hour stream. So great to see you, Lauren, Ricky, Terry. I hope you're well. Snuffle, welcome in. Ricky, Nia. Did I miss anyone? If you've not said hi yet, please do say hello in chat, guys. You'll see that most of these people are chatting on YouTube, hence the little YouTube logo next to their names. If you want to get involved in the conversation, that's kind of where it goes on. But if you're watching this on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn as well, you can say hello and it will come through whilst the chat is on screen. When we do the interview, the chat gets hidden. So if you want to carry on the conversation amongst the community, then please carry that on over on YouTube or with the people that you're watching on whatever platform that is. We will feature the best questions like we do every single week whilst myself and the guests are talking. We won't pay any attention to them. We won't let the guests sort of get distracted by them. We'll pick up some of them at the end perhaps, but we will feature them on screen for the benefit of the audience, but also for the benefit of people that are watching this back who didn't see what was going on in chat. So please do keep the conversation going, guys, whether the chat is on screen or not. How is everyone? Kevin, welcome in. I hope you're good. I did join for the end of the 24-hour thing and confirm a few of the American mods were still active. That's mad. It was a real effort yesterday, guys. And genuinely, I think we showed what peer support is all about. You know, the whole point of my section, I had 7 hours to fill. That was a little bit daunting because when you're doing your own stuff, that's fine. But when you're doing it for somebody else, that sort of felt like a big sort of weight to carry. And when we were doing like the Minecraft stuff and things like that, and you guys were just talking about chronic illness stuff whilst we're playing a computer game, that showed right there why we do what we do. You know, that is exactly why we do what we do. We only get 5-10 minutes with our doctors, sometimes every couple of months, or if you're in the UK, you're lucky if you get that a year now. So we have to find ways of coping in between, and that's what this community is all about. And you guys demonstrated that perfectly yesterday, so thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. I thought it was awesome, and yeah, it felt like a big step forward for our Twitch and YouTube community, guys, so thank you so much for that. If you are new here and you're wondering what we are talking about, you can find us over on Twitch during the week, where we play Minecraft to basically use as escapism. You know, for us that are living with pain and everything like that, we go on there and we forget about it. We will talk about, you know, our situation, our challenges and everything in the chat, but we won't talk about it in the game. So if you just want to join the game and switch off and be around people that understand, then you can do that as well. And sometimes on Sunday nights, if this lot twist my arm enough, we will head over there after this stream and be on Twitch as well. But normally we'd be streaming there Monday, Thursday and Friday nights, where you can find us from 7 o'clock. And then we're here on YouTube from 7 o'clock with the Chronic Pain Club Talk Show, where we interview people to hear their lived experiences, hear about their advocacy, the amazing work they might be doing in the sort of disability or awareness space, or just generally to elevate a story that we feel like needs to be elevated. So I really appreciate you people joining us today, because we'll be talking psoriatic arthritis. I'm well aware that we talked psoriatic arthritis yesterday for a different organisation. So thank you for those who have followed us around the tinterwebs to hear these stories. I really do appreciate you. You're going to be experts by the end of this. Absolute experts. I'll be doing a test, Ricky, to see how much you know about PsA by the end of all of this. That beautiful face is looking a little bit red today. I got caught out in the sun today walking the dog up the field, so there's a bit more colour in my cheeks than there was when you saw me yesterday, guys. But I hope you're all well. I don't need to prompt you with Twitch anymore. Just gonna listen to a while. Yeah, no worries at all. And guys, if you want to join our Discord, people will put it in chat. I could put it up on screen, but look, just to show you an example. Are you really going to write this down? Are you going to write that down and get all the case sensitive stuff right? When we get to 1,000 followers on our Discord server, guys, we get a custom link. That'll be nice. Or if, for anyone that's boosted the server recently over on Discord, I think when you get to 14 boosts, you get a custom invite link. So we could finally put something that people can read on screen and copy, and not this gibberish. So if there's not a motivation to boost the Discord server, I don't know what is. Trying my best not to miss anything. It's fine, Terry. We've all got lives to lead. Even I miss Chronic Pain Club streams. So some weeks I have to cancel. I'm in a lot of pain today after yesterday, and I'm fine until I sit back in this position and I ache like hell. I know my guest is dealing with a lot of pain today, so you're in good company, and we're all got stuff going on. So yeah, don't ever feel like it's like you have to keep turning up. If you need a break, you need a break. You need a break. Guys, has anyone got any stuff they want to share afterwards? Because if you're new here, basically in a minute I'll bring my guest in. We'll talk for 30 to 45 minutes. It's kind of an informal coffee shop chat between us so that you guys feel like you're a fly on the wall, hearing about people, learning about their experiences, etc. But at the end of the stream, we'll have a few questions if there is any. But also, we then open the floor to you guys in the audience to say, is there anything you guys want to share? Is there anything you guys want to sort of lean on the community with? Anything you want to talk through? Any issues you might want to bring to my attention to help steer my advocacy? All that sort of thing. But we basically open it up to you guys, and then at the end, as soon as the conversation dries up, then we say goodnight and we all go into the new week. So basically, I stick around after the interview for as long as you need me to, after we've left our guest to go back and enjoy the rest of the Sunday evening. So yeah, have a think now if there's anything you want to pick up, and then we'll pick that up in the next sort of 30, 45 minutes and go through that for you guys. Right, should we bring our guest in, guys? You all ready to meet our guest? Before we do, just so I'm not being rude, I'm going to have to take my inhaler again. I've done it on yesterday's stream, and I've given up hiding it. I used to hide it behind a fancy scene. I'm not doing it anymore. We're a chronic illness stream. We should be allowed to show our chronic illnesses as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, deal with it. Right. Is everyone good to go? Are we ready to meet Jack? Awesome guest tonight, guys. And Jack, some of you might know him from social media and everything. But let me kill the music and we'll get ready to bring them in. So chat gets hidden at this point, guys. If you want to carry on talking on YouTube, please do. Chat really drives YouTube viewers, so the more you talk in chat, even though it's not on screen on YouTube, the more it'll be seen. Same as if you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, but you'll only be able to see the chat from people who are doing it on your platform. So if you want to get involved with all these wonderful people here on YouTube, come over to YouTube /Joel vs Arthritis, and you can join in the conversation, and we will feature the best comments, questions, and points that are made throughout the interview. So please keep those coming, guys. So from now, that gets hidden off, and without further ado, guys, I'm delighted to be joined by tonight's guest. He's a really prominent psoriasis advocate and psoriatic disease advocate here in the UK, and somebody I've crossed paths with many times before. But until now, I don't think we've been able to have a proper sort of conversation, albeit not face-to-face, an actual audible conversation. So welcome in, guys. Jack Gaskin, who will be talking tonight about his psoriatic disease. Welcome in, Jack. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Joel. How are you tonight? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm very sore. My knees are not enjoying being back in a seated position. I've been laying on the bed flat out most of the day, or walking the dog. But I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. It's quite nice actually, because sometimes when you do a bit of advocacy work, or when you're talking about your arthritis, sometimes you can be feeling healthy. So I think it's quite nice, because today actually I am stiff and in pain, and I've actually got my feet in a foot bath right now.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, exactly. It's underneath my table at the moment, Joel.
Yeah, I need to do. If I didn't have all this computer equipment around, that sounded like a lovely idea. But I must admit, it sounds weird. I said this to someone the other day, because I've been having this huge hip flare, and it's trapped a nerve in my hip, and it's causing me all sorts of problems. Oh, yeah. And somebody was like, sort of being really sympathetic about it, and sort of doing the whole, "Oh, you poor thing." I said, yeah, but in a really weird, messed up way, when you do what it is that you and I do, it's not a bad thing to be reminded of the struggle, because I was having a good run. And if I was back to where I was 4 or 5 years ago and playing sport and that, I'd feel a little bit like a fraud of an advocate, because I wouldn't physically represent the person I feel like I'm representing. So I find this stuff, there is pros, and we have to take some pros from the stuff. If not, it'd drive us mad, wouldn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. And you're right, actually, because, you probably get asked do a lot more than me in terms of like press or PR or writing articles. But
you say that, but I've never seen my face on a bus stop. Like a friend sent a photo of yours once.
Oh, did they? Yeah. What did they say? Oh, look, there's this random bloke with arthritis on a bus stop.
Yeah, I think it was Arthritis Action or something you done posters for or something. Yeah. And he'd just interviewed me on a podcast. He's like, "Do you know this guy? I just saw this on the bus stop." And I was like, "Actually, I do know Jack, funnily enough." Sorry, I get sidetracked.
No, but it's true though, because sometimes when you have to do things like that, you feel healthy and you feel good, and then you think, oh yeah, living with psoriatic arthritis or arthritis, it's not that bad. And then literally on the weekend comes, and then you get a nice little flare up, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
damn, why can I convey the shit, the badness of it.
Yeah, and that is that the weekend thing sucks for me, because like I will literally battle through work all week, and sometimes I don't feel very productive, and it's like a bit of a survival mode. And then you get to the weekend and you've got nothing left, and then like you'll have some. So I almost like, I don't mind suffering today because I had something to show for it yesterday, because I was doing the whole online stream all day and everything. But then weekends where you spend the entire weekend recovering from just a regular week, and you can't then be present with your family and everything else, and then suddenly it's Monday, it sucks. And I think it's one of the reasons why we picked Sunday night to do this, because I struggle on a Sunday night. I'm thinking about work, I'm thinking that I haven't recovered and all this sort of thing, and I thought, well, maybe there might be other people out there that need someone else to say, yeah, me too,
Yeah, definitely. And it's been it feels like it's been a long winter as well. It feels like it's been very damp, been very cold. I've been waiting for it gets to February and you think, oh yeah, it's going to warm up a bit. Conditions going to start getting better. Then March came in and it was raining. Then April was raining. May starts off raining, and you're just like, oh, this winter feels like it's 7 months long or 8 months long. Like
Yeah.
I need the vitamin D. I need the sunshine to give me some mobility again.
And it's the hope, isn't it? Because if you're having a rough time, that stuff feels so much longer, than if you're doing all right, and it maybe doesn't play on your mind so much. I don't know about you, but like as soon as it gets to like February, I'm fed up and I'm thinking, I hope April's good. And then we went and just had a complete washout, didn't we, for April?
Yeah, when I was when I was up in the morning, I had to get the train to go do some work, and there's like a little sliver of sun on the platform. I just sort of stood in there and just like, oh yeah, vitamin D, like, oh, and it almost feels like it's nurturing your joints and it's like healing you almost.
Yeah.
And you're just like, give me that goodness.
And I find as well, though, it's like, I don't know about you, I know everyone's different, but for me, it's a fine line as well, because like the sun is amazing for my skin, and 9 times out of 10 is great for my joints as well. Hence, I went out and walked a dog in it today, even though I was really sore. But if it's like just pure heat, then sometimes I'll find that'll trigger my joints. So like if I go abroad and it's just pure like heat, then I can struggle a little bit on that. So yeah, you can't win, I don't think, in that situation.
No, you can't. And do you know what's funny about that? Why you say that, Joel? So when I first got psoriatic arthritis, looking back, I probably had psoriasis probably leading up to it before I got the psoriatic arthritis, obviously. But I remember I used to go to Spain and to Malaga, so it's quite warm.
Yeah.
And I started getting this polymorphic light eruption, which looks like a heat rash.
Yeah.
And I had that for a couple of years before I linked it to the psoriasis and then to the psoriatic arthritis. And it was weird because I've always gone traveling and I've always been in like sort of warm countries, and I tan pretty easily usually. And then a couple of years before I started, the psoriasis really got bad. I was having this allergic reaction to the sun, and it's only now when I look back now, I'm like, oh, it's probably all related to the psoriasis,
Yeah. And a lot of people as well don't realize that a lot of the treatments we take can cause that sort of photosensitive reaction as well. I know sulfasalazine is a big one, and every year I find myself doing a post. You'll actually see a lot of patient orgs doing it now, but you go back a couple of years ago, nobody was doing that, warning about, be careful with this on biologics and be careful in the sun with these. And so every single year I sort of find myself doing that post, because I was a kid and they'd put me in a bed in the hospital ward next to the window, and I woke up the next day like covered in blisters, those horrible blisters. And so I learned at a really young age the dangers of some of that stuff and how your skin can react if you're on them meds. But you don't get told about it, do you? You just get stuck on them and off you go.
And I think that's what the sort of the peer-to-peer groups are good for, because it's when you start talking to like people that have chronic illnesses or on the same medication, you really start learning a lot more like what the medication does, what the side effects can do, and even like obviously I like to have a drink here and there. And I remember, in the lead up of going on to like methotrexate and taking immunosuppressants, and the doctors were like, "Oh, you're gonna have to give up drinking. You can never drink. You never drink." And I gave up drinking for probably about 3 months, 4 months in the lead up to before going on to methotrexate. And then even when I was on it initially, because you have to build up over the weeks or over the months, your dosage, because you keep going back and go, "Oh, it's not done anything yet," and you go, "Okay." Go take 2 more pills and then come back in a few more weeks.
If you're throwing up in the next morning, then you got enough in your system. I was found of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you think, "Oh, this is really sucks," because now I feel a bit sick because of the medication all the time. Because you're not even used to what time to take the medication, and then your social life diminishes even more. Plus, you look scabby because all your hair's falling out and your psoriasis is everywhere, and you're like, these drugs aren't kind of.
Methotrexate was really good for my arthritis, but done nothing for my psoriasis at all.
Oh, really?
Weirdly done nothing for my psoriasis. It just goes to show you how it's horses for courses, isn't it?
Yeah, because I was always quite desperate actually to get onto the methotrexate to get rid of the psoriasis.
Did that work for you?
Yeah. Like if you see my skin now, it doesn't look like I have psoriasis at all.
Superb.
But when
I always try and promote when people have a good experience with methotrexate, because if you just went by Instagram, you'd think it's like poison, and it has its place. Yes, it is a strong drug, and yes, it's a type of chemotherapy. But I was on it from 14 to well into my 20s, probably good over 10 years. All right, and it did mess around with my liver towards the end, and we had to change and everything. But for 10 years, I had the best remission I ever had. Unfortunately, it gets a bad rap, so I'm always keen to sort of promote the good experiences.
Were you on tablets then, or were you just on injections?
So I was tablets, and then when it started to affect my liver and everything, then I switched to injections. And back then that was the whole self-inject. It wasn't like the bio pens that done it all for you. It was full-blown syringes, and which I didn't enjoy, but I got well trained to do it. But yeah, so for me they work brilliantly. But yeah, I think that's one of the things I'm always sort of like really aware of on social media. It always comes across everyone's chasing biologics for obvious reasons. Biologics do amazing things. They are also ridiculously expensive. And as I found out recently with the whole neutropenia thing and wiping out all my white blood cells, they also are something you have to respect. So you don't want to jump straight to them.
But the burning question I have for you though, Joel, is, do you think biologics are as effective, or because I have a biological as well. I take Adalimumab,
I know the one you mean, Humira. I can never say them. I've been doing all this stuff for years, and I still get my tongue twisted trying to say them.
Yeah, it's impossible, isn't it? So I take that and the methotrexate, both injections. And I swear, when I was first on the Humira, it was pure biologic, and I think I'm now on like a synthetic biologic, and I swear it's not as effective.
So did you get switched to the biosimilar?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the biosimilar switch is what caused me to be on this entire path.
Really?
No one talks about it, but when I was on Humira, I was playing rugby, I was doing all the running, all this sort of stuff. All the regulars in chat, I'm sorry guys, you hear this all the while, but it is my sort of like origin story. And I got switched to the biosimilar. Of course, I said yes. I worked in the NHS. I was told it'd allow more people to get access to biologics, and it didn't work. And it took 11 months for me to get switched back. And the bit that really annoyed me about that is I remember in the build up to that switch, lots of patient organisations and others were promoting that switch and saying how it was going to help more people and reach. And of course it was fantastic. If it's cheaper, we can give it to more people. But then when it didn't work for patients, nobody was there to support them. No one was there to champion them. I had one patient organisation. I'm not naming names in any of this because I obviously work with lots of them now. And the past is the past and people have moved on and everything else. But there was only one organisation that championed and said, you know what, we might have got this wrong. We might have got this wrong. If you're having issues with biosimilars, get in touch. But everyone else just went dead silent on it. And it really annoyed, like it lit such a fire in me that I started all of this. Because I thought, well, like, nobody, it's great, these people that all represent patients and wave flag for patients, but when it's like part of the system, or there's lots of overlap, or people are in bed with other people, and all this other, the issue you get. We know that money comes from pharma to fund a lot of these projects and things like this. I don't know, it just felt like there needed to be an independent voice saying, this isn't right, or we got this wrong, and so that's kind of where it'll come from for me. So I am back on Humira, but it doesn't work as well. And being them 11 months spent on biosimilar just completely messed up for me. But what I would caveat that with, we've had lots of people on here talking about how biosimilars work brilliantly for them. So I know there are people out there. My issue is that there was thousands of us where it messed our lives up and ruined our quality of life, and nobody talks about that, and nobody reviewed it or looked into it or anything.
Well, I didn't realize I had been switched over, and then one day I was just looking at the brand package.
Wow.
And then I was like, oh, hang on, this isn't Humira. I think I got a letter from the provider that delivers the medicine.
Yeah.
But I didn't really pay much attention. I just assumed it was the.
But you should have signed paperwork. So
really?
my consultants asked me to sign paperwork that say I agreed to the switch.
Really?
I got no warning. I got hijacked going into a biologic nurse appointment, back when we used to actually get those. And sorry, there's so much going on in this country around our care at the minute. It doesn't take long to trigger my passion. But it's like, I went in for a routine appointment. I said, oh, by the way, can you sign this? Because this is happening. And literally the very next month they switched me. So I had no time to think about it. It felt like an ambush, but you should have signed something, because I know at the time I said to them, I'm happy to do this on the basis I can switch back. And everyone was like, yeah. And to be fair, in my medical team's defense, they genuinely thought we could just switch straight back. It was our CCG, our local sort of like, where all the money was held is where the block came. See, and that annoys me. And I promised my wife when I started all this, I said, I'll keep my lips shut for a couple of years whilst I sort of do all the stuff I do and establish myself and, feel like people think I'm dependable and reliable, et cetera, et cetera. But I promise one day there will be a campaign that looks into people who were affected, people like you who didn't know you were being switched, people like me whose lives got ruined, because it's not good enough that we just moved on and forgotten about it, in my opinion, as a patient. Anyway.
No, I agree. And I also think that I don't know if you find this, because I'm assuming you might have multiple injections. Do you take multiple injections? Or?
No, I've just got the one now for the Humira. Yeah, I just have the one.
And the Humira. And like, I swear that new injection pen, the spring is so tough on it. When I have to, because my methotrexate I can just do, it's really easy, quick and easy, no problem at all. But when I take my Humira one, I really have to jam it in and press it in and fight for it. It wants to
I know they are looking at redesigning those. I've been on a couple of focus groups where that's been the subject, and obviously you're not allowed to talk about what goes on in those focus groups, but the general redesign of those pens is on the radar. They're also looking at making them smart, so rather than the whole delivery thing where you have to say how many you've got, it can actually see when they've been used and when they go out of date, and link it to an app and all this route that everyone's going down.
That's really good.
In our current environment with our home care provider here in the UK, I think that could only be a good thing.
Well, yeah, I think so as well, because they've moved me onto an app.
And the app doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't log in. And I said to the transport driver, I said, "Oh, mate, you must be sick, because, obviously, Joel, we're probably, we're probably capable of using a mobile phone and sort of technology. But for like older people, if you have to get them to download an app and then try and log in and do the rest, I think some people struggle. And the poor delivery man, I was like, oh, you might. I said to him, "Oh, my app's not working." Oh, everyone's told me they can't log in today.
Oh, it don't. Or you'll get a notification saying you got to book your delivery, and that'll be the day when it's not working. Or the best one that I get, well, there's two. The one that really winds me up is the one that says you've got to book your time. Remember to do it now to get the best choice. And you'll go on. There is no choice. You'll pick another date, and it'll give you the original date anyway. Yeah. And then has the audacity, after your thing's been delivered, the day you did want. So say the day after, you'll get a text message saying your delivery's coming today. And I thought, flaming in. You brought it yesterday, regardless of what my personal preference was. But yeah, their days have been numbered soon. I think it's only a matter of time before I get a cease and desist letter from them. I think how much I talk about them on the show.
And there's a shortage as well, which is really frustrating for Humira. So like instead of getting it, you know, four pens, you get 2 pens, and you know it's hard, isn't it? Because I mean, for you, because you've got kids and you're working as well, or I'm working, but you know, to be able to take every 2 weeks off or schedule a day to be in to get your medication, it's just a real pain in the arse, isn't it?
Yeah. And the bit that really annoys me, I'm really grateful for the PsA campaign and everything else, but with my patient hat on, this is no disrespect to any of those organizations that I work with and everything, but with my patient hat on, it shouldn't have taken doctors being impacted, doctors not being able to fulfill their prescriptions for a national campaign to happen when patients were reporting these issues for nearly 2 years. We were talking about this issue on the Chronic Pain Club when we used to do it on Twitch in June last year. I look back, there's a video where I'd come back from the Psoriasis Association conference, and that was the first time somebody in the audience had brought up none of my stuff ever turns up, etc., etc. And that was a year ago, 2 weeks time, probably 2-3 weeks time, that'll be a year ago. And I was aware of it about 6 months before then from other people DMing me and stuff. So it just really annoys me that doctors get inconvenienced. There's a big national campaign, and all of a sudden they're being investigated, and they're all across the national press. When I sent numerous emails to media outlets saying you need to, and I'm happy to admit that I don't care. I'm here to advocate for patients. It doesn't matter, you know, who gets upset in the process of that. You know, but I sent numerous emails to sort of these same media outlets saying you really need to take a look at these guys because something's going very wrong, and it was tumbleweed. But as soon as doctors campaigned. And that, I find that very frustrating. You know, I find that very frustrating because we're the ones who are being impacted, not them. It doesn't affect their health. It doesn't affect what they can do with their kids. It doesn't affect their attendance at work. And people have lost jobs over this. You know, people have lost jobs because their attendance has just plummeted. And sorry, I was supposed to be your interview, and I'm off ranting. I've been a really bad host.
It's true though, Joel, isn't it? Because you know, like in work, when you have a chronic illness as well, and I think if you have a chronic illness anyway, you have that whole sort of guilt element, don't you? You have a guilt element where you feel bad that you've got to take time off work, or that you might not be able to concentrate as much, so you're a bit slower in the days that you have. And obviously, when majority of the time, you're probably having an okay week or an okay day, but you know, you're always, you know, a day away from having a flare up or brain fog or being in pain or lack of mobility. And you do realize that you do have to take more time off work. You do get sick. You do need to, you know, go to appointments. You do need to like wait to get your medication. And, you know, because on every day you have to kind of compete against other people in a normal society. When you are being an inconvenient because your body's letting you down, you feel guilty, and you do feel guilty to your colleagues, you feel guilty to your family, and I think that's one of the hard things to get used to and to deal with.
And the way then that makes you feel like mentally as well, isn't it? It's like, I know you and I both talk very similar lines on that, but how does your sort of condition affect you mentally when it's like that?
Well, I have to admit, like when how I got the psoriatic arthritis, I had a business, and when my business was failing, my relationship ended basically, and the lead up to that business failing obviously was very stressful, and I had a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. I was a director at the company, so it comes with other implications, and you know, it was just very, very, very stressful, and that gave me the psoriasis. At first, I thought it was just dandruff, you know. And
you do,
And because it was in winter, and in order not to take money out of the business, I was also doing a lot of work in a kitchen in the morning to not take my money. So I thought the chemicals from the cleaning in the kitchen was causing me to have problems on my skin. But when the stress and when that relationship ended, um, the sort of stress and emotional turmoil that you go through really triggered it basically. And I think people don't really link in stressful episodes or sort of mental depression that you go through afterwards. And I think for me, definitely, I think when I first got ill, I felt very unfair. I just kept
Yeah.
thinking, this is really unfair. There's no reason for it. Like, what? No one in my family has psoriasis. Why am I the unlucky one? And why do I have to look scabby? And my mum, when she used to see me because all my hair was falling out, I looked really bad. My mum would go home and she'd be crying. She didn't tell me this at the time, luckily.
Yeah,
That would have made me feel bad. Like, oh, Joe, you look bloody disgusting. You look like a leper. Yeah. She's like, just go sort yourself out. She wasn't like that.
Yeah.
You didn't need to say that. The kids were crossing the road when they saw me. But you go through that period of feeling this is really unfair, and then your nails start falling out, and then you're like, oh, this is getting even worse now, and you're going back to the doctors. And I remember the nurse at the time, she was like, oh, I'm well out my own depth. I don't know what's going on with you, but you're getting worse every time you come back and see me. And then you get alarmed. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that you go through those periods of feeling like it's very unjust, and when that sort of acceleration is going, it feels it's very alarming. Because you feel it feels completely out of control,
and then the stress fuels your symptoms as well, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And then I think once you've had the condition for a year or 2 years, and you've been living with it, I think then what really happens is you have real adjustment periods where you almost mourn the person that you were, because it seems like every month you lose the ability to do something like not being able to go hiking with a backpack, or not being able to run, or being able to just walk on uneven surfaces. It's like every month you lose something.
Yeah, it's a horrible feeling.
It is a horrible feeling, isn't it? And I think it does take a number of years to get used to it. And I think I was quite fortunate, because when COVID happened, it was just when my arthritis was getting very bad, and when I was starting to look to go onto immunosuppressants. And I actually found that period of COVID was great, because they locked us up. You weren't allowed to leave the house, and but because you were taken out of sort of society and the normal pressures around it, and having to be sort of disabled or have a chronic illness, all the pressure went away. And I actually really liked that period to adjust to my sort of my new life. And I think that's when I found you, actually, when I sort of started seeing you on social media, because there's that sort of period where I thought, okay, it's time to instead of feeling like it's all happening, you don't know where else to turn to.
There were so many people that went looking for it, and I'm just chuffed that people like you stuck at it, because you did see then the other side of that, where lockdown ended and everything, and suddenly all those accounts got closed down and people moved on and went back to how they were living before. But there was definitely something magical happened in that sort of year or so period, especially with the high risk and the shield and stuff, and that, where people were sort of just looking for like a group to associate with, weren't they? And turn to these places, and then we all ended up finding each other. And where before we were just all in little silos, dotted about doing our own thing. So that was pretty special. Well, I thought it was.
And I totally agree with you, man. And I think the community then was really important, because you just couldn't get any information, and the government would be slapping down this and that, and you'd be like, what's that mean for me then?
It's like some of us were getting letters, some of us weren't, some were. And for me, the real eye-opening one was the third primary booster vaccine, because that was the first time I'd realised there was an issue before seemingly people with a lot more resources than me had noticed there was an issue, and I'd done this post to say, oh, we're entitled to this third primary vaccine. It's not the spring booster, it's not any booster, it's your third primary, blah blah blah. And everything went mad, like blew up, and social media blew up, and then suddenly you realized, okay. And I went from, I think that was the moment for me where it changed from people like you and I can share photos of our psoriasis and talk about our psoriasis like we're doing now, and it's really helpful and it helps people and it does raise awareness and reduces stigma, etc. But you can also be an active part of the, support, information, signposting sort of process. And I don't know if you found that, but for me, that whole period, as dark and horrible as the whole shield and thing was, there was definitely elements of that where it really empowered me, because I suddenly realized the network and that we had our finger on the pulse much more than other people, certainly more than the doctors and the hospitals and everything else.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think I 100% agree with you. And I found that I was educating the healthcare practitioner. They didn't know the information. It was us almost telling them about the thing. And I also think, like, I found that period very amusing, because you'd queue up with all the like 80-year-olds and 70-year-olds to get your vaccine, and then the people at the counter or giving the regulation look at you with suspicion, like, what are you here? Are you sure
say that? I literally had to write a guide. I'm not even joking. I wrote like a bullet point on my Facebook page for people that were having this exact issue, people that were like under 50 or whatever, saying, right, you need to tell them this. It doesn't matter if you've received an official letter, because I never received an official letter. I got one from my hospital, but I didn't get the government one. So I shielded and everything else. And I got all the letters about what I was entitled to in terms of boosters and stuff. And it was mad that, Joel from Norfolk is giving people a little fag packet guide to how to get your vaccines. It's stupid, but that was the world we were in, wasn't it?
Yeah, you had to prove your illness, didn't you?
Yeah, it's actually stupid. I just told people to take their biologic alert cards as well, because that makes it really clear. If anyone who's got one of them biologic alert cards still kicking around, I don't know if they give them out now, but so there we go. All this stuff just winds me up and just means that I'll get out of bed tomorrow, Jack, and my diary should be clear, and then I end up taking on another battle because I hear this stuff.
Well, no, because when I first went on to the immunosuppressants, I noticed that when you cut your finger, you never stop bleeding. Like, your blood doesn't clot properly anymore. And I said to the nurse, I was like, I think I need something, because it seems to me like when I cut myself, I just never stop bleeding. And they're like, oh yeah, you asked the provider of the medication, they should send you one in the post. And you phone them up and they're like, oh no, you got to ask your GP. And then your GP says, oh no, you got to ask your specialist in the hospital. And then it's that never ending circle of pass the buck, isn't it?
Yeah, it just annoys me. And I think that's what an important role independent advocates play. And I know I would say that, I'm sitting here as one, but like what you do and what others do, I think, because we almost can be that safety net for patients, or those patients that maybe wouldn't think to pick up a phone to a helpline. There's so many awesome helplines out there, Psoriasis Association, Versus Arthritis, etc. Here in the UK, there's plenty elsewhere. But I'm the type of person, don't ask me why. Maybe it's just the environment I grew up in. I grew up in heavy sort of sport and environments and competitive alpha male changing room sort of places. And like, I would never, throughout all of my years of arthritis, ever did or ever would pick up a phone to a helpline. I don't know why. I'm just not comfortable with it. I'm much more comfortable talking to like you about it or somebody else. And I think, that's why we've got to remember, because sometimes we can feel like a tick box. I don't know about your experiences, but my experiences, sometimes that's that tick box. Oh, if we get Joel involved, we can say there was a patient involved. Oh, plus he'll share it a bit and reach people we can't reach, etc. But we're part of the solution, because you can see people here in chat tonight, and like the experiences you've already talked about, where they're getting those cues or getting that information from people like us, and we're not medically trained, we're not professional sources, but we can signpost, can't we?
Yeah. And I think there are some good pharmaceutical companies out there that really invest in patients, like there's one called AbbVie that invite me to talk at their conferences, and I have to admit, their sort of patient professional peer group network that they engage with is really inspiring, because they really do listen to the patient and are trying to understand what the impact is like on the person taking the medication, what that they're trying to design essentially. And they, I guess because they're private sector, when they hear about the public sector, sometimes they're really aghast by the treatment or the lack of treatment that we get. But that's not,
they don't see that last mile, do they? Sort of
no
thing.
And that's not to knock the NHS, because I think like the NHS does try its best, and without it, our lives would be really, really miserable, because we would be really like in pain and like curled up and like in a lot of pain. But I do think that I don't know why it's sort of lost its way. Is it because it's just so underpaid, understaffed? Is it the
I think there's lots of
bureaucracy?
somebody that works, I think there's lots of reasons. Pandemic had a big impact, not just the way the pressure had and the way people felt that they were treated, but also the way that it gave people a view on like think other things are important in life, and running yourself into the ground for absolutely no thanks isn't always the best way to live. And I
No,
think you got
exactly.
so many people gone off, started their own businesses, done their own things. But yeah, that's a topic for another day. But I think like you say, that there are some really good ones out there and forward thinking ones. I think but yeah, I just wanted to highlight that point. It's like the stuff, you'll put something on social media and it'll make me think, oh yeah, that's something I need to remember to look into. Or, it's that filling in the gaps, isn't it? We kind of like the cement. I think we have when I work with other organizations, I know you work with big organizations as well. It's like, you'll see how in other parts of the world, things are very collaborative. Like we had this stream yesterday where it was all about bring people on. You can all promote the project you're working on. Plug, brilliant. Whereas sometimes I feel like in the UK, it's all a bit like, well, we own this bit and we own this bit, and you shouldn't be doing that campaign and we should be doing, you know what I mean? And like, I think we got to keep trying to sort of like encourage that collaboration across the board, so that rather than, this organization has to be the parachute on this occasion, or that Jack has to be the parachute on that occasion to catch that missed issue or whatever that, I think we could be better with that. I've got sort of number of views on that, but I just wanted to highlight the importance of the independent, because I know there's definitely been stuff that you've said that I thought, wow, that was really not on my radar. That was absolutely not on my radar, and I need to go and look into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, because obviously I see the stuff that you do internationally with WIGO. Or WIGO, is that how you pronounce it?
Well, yeah, the social health now. Yes, they're going full blown down the social health route, but they were WIGO, yeah.
Yeah. And so, when you see people from other countries, what sort of advocacy work are they doing? Or not advocacy work, but what are their medical professionals, what sort of lead thought are they doing? Is it more inspiring? Is it looking into treatment? Is it looking into like how to make the patient more comfortable? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think the big difference, particularly in America, is that people like you and I can apply for funding to do our own campaigns, which just doesn't happen here in the UK. And we had a lady on with us, Amanda Green, a couple of weeks ago, who applied for funding to do a campaign involving explaining lupus via the use of theme. She was using this sort of slime method, and it was really interesting. I need to get the clip up on YouTube. There are actually pots of money where you can apply.
Wow.
And you can do that, or they have patient-only conferences and stuff like that. And in the UK, I just feel like I'm banging my head against the wall constantly. Like, we've got wonderful people, and everyone wants to help, and everyone wants the patient to be involved. But ultimately, I will still go to you week after next and feel like something on the bottom of people's shoe as a patient, that I shouldn't be there, and I won't be able to use certain coffee rooms, and I won't be able to use certain bathrooms, and it'll feel like I'm suddenly back in Victorian age where there's a class system. And you know what I mean? It's all, and patient organizations have the exact same experience. It isn't just independents, as patient, massive patient organizations as well. And I think that's the bit, like the whole social health and other organizations like that, where they help people like me, is they make me think bigger, because I think if we were left to regional in the UK anyway, it'd be like, oh, that's a really good idea, Joel, but we'll just take that and use all of our massive resources and do our own campaign. And we had the same thing with the vaccine. When I was doing that third primary vaccine thing, I emailed around all the organizations saying, I think there needs to be a campaign for this. There's a real gap. This is what I found. and I got nothing. 2 weeks later, them campaigns started appearing. You know what I mean? So we get a lot of like territorial things that seem to go on here, which I'll never understand for the life of me, because how an independent like you or I could be a threat to anyone, I have no idea. But in the other countries, you know, so I've got people who I'm connected with in Asia that I'll be meeting with soon later this year, and they will actually get pots of money, funding to do campaigns, to do their own awareness stuff. And it blows my mind. That doesn't seem to exist here in the UK. Or if there is, you have to get it via a patient org who got funded via a pharma company somewhere, and therefore you're very restricted and you're on rails about what you can do. So that's the big eye opener for me, to answer your question about like what am I seeing elsewhere, is that you could have this really good idea and you wouldn't need to piggyback with someone else or pass it on to an organization. You could actually do that yourself as an advocate. And I think we need to push more for that in this country.
Which is kind of nuts, because we have the NHS and it's, you know, it is public led. It is a publicly funded body. Whereas, you know, I was quite surprised when you said America's giving pots of money out, because obviously that's a, you know, privatized healthcare system.
Yeah, and there will be pharma people behind it somewhere. Of course there will. You know what I mean? There will be somewhere. But rather than that having to go through all the hoops and everything that it does in this country, you know, various patient orgs or whatever, that middleman isn't there. You know, the same as they have the Healthy Voices conference over in the US, and they will pay for independent advocates to go there and talk and present. And it's just like so refreshing. Whereas if I get a gig anywhere, 9 times out of 10, I have to get it through someone else. You know, I'm now starting to get to the point where people will come direct, which is amazing. But up until very recently, you're still very heavily reliant on somebody else, you know, doing that bit for. And I'm sure a lot of the opportunities and speaking stuff you've done has come through organizations, I'm sure. But
no, it's true. Yeah, all of anything that I've ever done has always been through either Versus Arthritis, Arthritis Action, or the Psoriasis Association. And if it wasn't for those three, and the Arthritis Alliance, if it isn't for those organisations, nothing would have come about.
And that's amazing. And that's amazing that they do, and they think of people like you and I and that. But my point is, we should wind that back further and try and get across to the pharma companies. You don't necessarily need to do that. Just go out and get the patients you feel like. The trouble is, you then get all the ethics stuff that pharma companies have to abide by, and it all gets a bit messy. So yeah, that's the issue. Is like you've got full-time advocates in America, places like that. You have full-time advocates making, you know, paying the bills, and whereas you and I are doing this stuff like in every free hour and everything else, and you know, whilst our family doesn't see us, you know, every Sunday night, every Monday night, every Thursday night, I'm streaming. It's 10 hours a week where my family don't see me, and we don't get anything for that. We do it because we're trying to make a difference. So yeah, my argument is like we could think bigger with this stuff. You know what I mean? We could think bigger.
And I think you hit the nail on the head as well, because you know you do it out of because you want to make a difference, and you want, you know, someone's giving you advice or help along the way, and you think, oh, I want to help another person in that situation. I want to part my knowledge onto someone else to help them. But you don't get remunerated usually. You just do it out of goodwill to support someone, right? You know, if you were in a different, if you were in a professional body, or if there's a different, not job, but like if you were doing a talk at a conference, you would be able to command a fee. You would be able to be remunerated. And I do think there is a reliance on just goodwill, basically.
There is. And my argument is that then becomes that's tick box, you know, because you want to say, oh, I involved a patient, but you clearly don't hold the patient as the same value as the doctor. You're probably paying $1,000 to be there. So last year I started demanding that. I started saying, if you want me to be at these things, I'm not paying to get in. I'm not paying to get there. You will cover my costs. And if I'm on stage next to somebody, we get the same money. And since I started doing that, all right, I've lost opportunities, obviously, but my days of going down to London for filming or to do an advert or to do something like that, where everyone in that room is being paid apart from me, I'm done with that. You know what I mean? And I know that doesn't make me very popular, but at least I can go to bed at night thinking I know my own value, I know my own worth, and I can't spend all week talking about the value of lived experience, the value of the patient voice, and then screw myself over. That I'm devaluing patients, in my opinion. I know that might be sort of like not a very popularly held one, but if I keep bending over backwards and doing all this stuff for free at the cost of my family's household income, because the first 2 years I'd done this, I lost over £1,000 each year in just doing advocacy. And my view is if I go and do that stuff at a loss for free when everyone else in the room is being paid, then by that action I'm not practicing what I preach and devaluing the value of patient voice.
Definitely. And I think also probably the person next to you is probably really high up in a pharmaceutical company, is on mega bucks anyway.
Yeah,
I know you're feeling guilty.
The one where I stopped doing it for the film and stuff, because like I say, I got fed up of standing in a room thinking, well, that sound engineer's paid, and that editor's paid, and that director's paid, and that lighting director's paid, and all these people from the organization here are paid. Yeah, it's silly. So now, you know, and I don't expect to make anything from it. I had this conversation with someone the other day. I just want to cover my costs. And then the ones where I have to use like annual leave, and therefore as time where I could go on holiday with my family, but I can't because I'm going to do a campaign somewhere, then they're the ones I expect to make some money from, because otherwise I'd be on a beach somewhere with my family, you know, not working. And it is work, you know, for anyone. So you speak to anyone abroad, that is a widely held thing. You know, America, any of them organizations there, a lot of the Asian organizations, they do not expect it. Again, it comes back to this thing we've got as a nut, we've got a crack in this country. And in my mind, it goes in that same bucket as, you know, oh, we can't let Joel run away with that idea. We need to make sure we grab that land grabby stuff that seems to happen here in the UK, that organizations, rather than collaborate, seem to sort of put firm borders on who does what. I think that's such a waste of resource, and we talked about it a lot yesterday on the stream. And and I think we're hamstringing ourselves. I think we've got a lot more potential to be better than that.
Definitely.
You should be an interviewer. I feel like I'm the guest here, Jack. You need to start your own podcast. So what I've loved about this, though, is we get lots of people come on, and psoriatic arthritis, psoriasis comes up a lot because of my links to it and everything else. And we normally do the whole journey thing. And I'm well aware that the audience have heard 101 people's journeys. I think what's been really refreshing about this conversation is we've just chewed the fat on being advocates. You know, we've talked about the issues in the UK. We've talked about the challenges about being an advocate. We've talked about how your condition affects your ability to do that and how it makes you feel. And it's just been it's been absolutely zero structure, but it's felt like a really good, you know, just we've covered so many different sort of areas that that we wouldn't. And it can get so easy on these shows on a Sunday night to follow that same format. You know, how did you get diagnosed? How did it onset? How did you learn to cope with it? And how did you rise above it? And, you know, that sort of thing. So I think it's been really cool just to do. I talk about the whole coffee shop chat thing, and we've absolutely done that tonight. And I think it says a lot about you and I just sort of knowing each other over the years.
Definitely.
So I suppose the last thing I sort of wanted to touch upon, because I'm conscious of your time, and that time is the last sort of 40 minutes has absolutely flown by.
And you probably did some homework and wrote some questions down as well.
Yeah, so
I've asked his name.
Trust me, I've had far worse runaway interviews. You've been a pleasure, don't worry. But so we talked a bit about like how your condition was going like out of control, and we talked about some of your treatments. We got a good sort of feel, I think, about what drugs you're on and that sort of thing. But sort of bringing it back around to like that adapting to a new way of life, I feel like we should probably end by just talking about them adaptations, like not just like what you would have done, like maybe physically, but mentally, quality of life, well-being, your routine. Because I know with psoriasis myself, like routine's a big one. So do you want to maybe just tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So when my illness was out of control, and I was just getting presented with more and more medication, and the prospect of taking more harder medication like immunosuppressants and biologics and steroids, and constantly, okay, let's try this, that hasn't worked, let's up it to this one, you can't take that yet because it's too strong, it's too expensive, that one fails, and okay, let's go up to the next one. when you're in that sort of mode, it's quite worrying. The other thing in the back of your mind is that you're thinking, crikey, like the long-term implications of these drugs on my health is quite worrying and it's scary. And no one ever says to you what remission looks like, or if there is a remission, there's no cure. So you're thinking, oh, okay, I'm just going to be taking loads of drugs for the rest of my life, and they just keep upping it and upping it, but there's never an end to it. It's just to suppress you. And it's a very uneasy thing, thinking, okay, well, my body's out of sync with itself, it's out of harmony, it's just attacking itself, and there's no reason for it, because I like my body, I like myself, but my body's got other ideas. It wants to destroy my joints for some reason. It wants me to look scabby, and now wants to eat my joints as well. It's like, why are you doing that?
And your confidence and self-esteem as well.
Are we not one? Are we not one? Can we be in harmony? So, because of all of that was happening, I was thinking there must be something that I'm missing in my life. There has to be something, and I guess, because you're worrying and you're scared all the time, and the prospect is quite scary. And I really started to look more deeply into what my life was like, and I think I was just doing like, working really, really long hours, had a lot of stress, had a lot of pressure. I live in London, so you're doing the commute thing as well. And, and I think like you almost get immune to stress, and you think that's a normal condition to be in.
You accept it, don't you? As normal.
Yeah, exactly. So I really thought I have to do something else to try, and because all the medication isn't working, there has to be something else to help me. So I started to get back into like meditation, which is something I did when I was a sort of teenager. I decided to go back into sort of meditation, and then I found that had a really positive effect. Read a really good book by Eckhart Tolle called The New Earth, and it basically teaches about consciousness. So, you're not your thoughts. There is a separation between it. Mm-hmm. And I think that sort of really helped me, helped me not internalize so much or take so much blame or guilt. I then also started having Reiki done to me, which is a form of like healing. Mm-hmm. It had a really profound effect, because when my hair had fallen out, the Reiki helped my hair grow back to what it is now, basically.
Oh, wow.
And then I just found that, because it's such a nice form of sort of energy, it makes you feel really, really calm, and it had a really, really positive effect on me. And I'm actually a Reiki therapist as well now.
Oh, okay.
Like I trained to be a Reiki therapist as well from having Reiki done to me. So I found that, having some sort of meditation, but also to realize that, you're not your thoughts and you're not your emotions. The thoughts and emotions are just something that's happening all the time. It's just, it's like a sense you see, you can hear. Thoughts and emotions are the same. And I think if you can sort of detach yourself from that, that really helps you ground yourself. It also helps you reflect on, the changes that you're going through. So I think that's really important to bring that sort of view into your life. Otherwise, you just hold on to an emotion too much, and you beat yourself up more, and you just feel really, really awful, because it makes you feel guilty, or it makes you just makes you feel crap, doesn't it? It just makes you feel like you're not worthy or something. So
my wife's always telling me about how that's wasted energy as well, and I'll get held up on certain things. Or you talked earlier about that grieve and sort of mourning process, or she'll try and remind us, just wasted energy, isn't it? When you're doing that stuff, you're not moving forward when you're stuck in that state.
Exactly, and you have to be. Yeah, I mean, you have to be brave and you have to get on with it. There are times that all you do is want to wallow in self-pity, but you know, like when you're having a flare up, that can only last for a couple of days, and then after that, you then have to think, okay, now I need to get up and try and get some movement, even though I'm in so much pain. There's always that time where you have to really like take control again. And I think you know, doing like meditation or doing things that are more holistic really helps you to do that. I think also that helps you practice gratitude, and I think that's really important to really be grateful for your healthy days, because you know it's really important to maximize those days. And I remember some people used to ask me, they used to say to me, well, usually my mum, I'd have conversations with her, and she'd be like, "Oh, you know, I'm sorry that you've, you know, got psoriatic arthritis or arthritis," or you know, when you tell someone for the first time, or it might be someone that you don't know that well, and you might be struggling in a day, and you know, oh, I'm just a bit stiff today, or I'm in a lot of pain, and you have to explain that you have arthritis, and you go, "Well, you're too young. You don't look like you got that." Well, I think I've got a bit in my finger.
It's always that. I think I've got a bit in my knee. Whatever.
Old football injury,
every time. Or I fixed a tap under a sink once, and I hurt my knee, and I think I got arthritis. Yeah, right, mate.
My granddad got that. My nan had that.
And I used to, when I was a kid, I used to try and explain the difference between wear and tear and inflammatory arthritis, and now I just give up. I just actually give up.
There's no point. But
wasted energy again.
But I like when people say that, oh, you know, you're too young to have arthritis, or you know, it's a shame that you have it. You know, I always say to people, look, it's better for someone like me to get arthritis, because you know, naturally I'm quite a happy person, and I'd rather I have it than someone who isn't. And I think, like, because I do, you know, a bit of meditation, and you know, I do Reiki, and I do try and practice that sort of thing. I think that helps me, you know, stay positive and not let it consume me or overtake my life too much, because you know, Joel, when you are having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month, you know how awful it is, and like how deliberating it is. And you know, those days when you wake up and you just spend like 2 hours in bed in the morning, and you think, oh, I'm so tired, but I'm so uncomfortable, I'm so painful, and you think, why even lying in bed where it should be my you know, happy, comfortable place. This is where people.
Well, it's like a one bad fruit in the fruit bowl, and it impacts it turns everything. It can turn the best news. I can have the best news ever, but if I'm having a flare, I can't see it. It just puts it in a different light, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And you know, you think, and it's lonely, isn't it? When it's like that, it's really isolating. It's really lonely. So I think, like, for me, you know, obviously when it's really bad, you are going to go through that. But I think naturally I'm quite a happy and optimistic person. And I think the meditation and the Reiki, it helps give me that balance and to give me that gratitude and appreciation. And I do think, like, you know, if I look back now to my life, I definitely don't get as worked up or stressed about meaningless things anymore. Like if I went back 5-7 years ago, you know, when I was really stressed, I don't think I'd be half as stressed, because I think, oh, this is nothing compared to, you know, living with a chronic illness. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. It's nice to hear somebody's going through that journey, because as someone who's constantly trying to, I'm a bit one step forward, 2 steps back with it. You know, I'm doing stuff now that the old Joel would have laughed in your face about me doing, you know, like the whole, like the meditation stuff, which I was so close-minded about. I didn't see how that was going to work, because from a kid I've been treated. It's all been about what drug I'm on and what the blood test says. It's always been medical. No one talked about the holistic element of my condition. You know, no one told me about, you know, stress management, or you know, how you can sort of like pace and stuff like that. And that was pain management clinic, excuse me, a couple of years ago that sort of taught me all of that. And so I'm still going through that journey because I'm finding I'm having to unwire bits of me that are so like ingrained that that's a load of nonsense. That ain't going to work. Or this, take today. I was in so much pain, and all my brain wanted to do was lay on bed all day. And yes, I'd done my fair share of that. I also went for a 3.5 mile dog walk. And
Yeah, exactly.
the me of 2 years ago would not have seen how that would help. Putting in a podcast or some, I'd have like a mindfulness kind of playlist thing and just walking across fields, no matter how much pain I'm in, it will make it better. It won't feel like it at the time, or maybe when you're immediately back and you're sweating buckets from the pain and everything. But tomorrow I'll benefit from that in a weird way. But it's looking bigger picture, isn't it? And unfortunately, medically, as patients, we're not told about the bigger picture. We're told about what hurts where and what we're going to give you to fix it, sort of thing.
But I think it's those mini wins that you have to do as well. Like, you know, it's so easy for arthritis to rob you of things. And when you like sort of push yourself to do something, even though instinctively you don't want to do anything, you know what? Like, I'm not going to let the arthritis win today. I'm going to go for that walk with my dog.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see the sunset. Even though I feel like, I feel awful, I still want to feel normal. I want to feel like I've got a normal life. And I think that's a really important thing. If someone has a chronic illness, to really, on those bad days, you've got to try and push yourself to feel normal and not let it rob you.
Yeah, totally. And I think that is an absolutely beautiful place to end, if that's okay. Because I think you summarized that last 5-10 minutes so good. So before I let you go, Jack, and I'm well aware that we've gone over, so thank you for staying longer with us tonight. Is there anywhere we want people to find you? If you've said anything tonight, or people want to connect with you, is there anywhere you want to sort of signpost them to find you on socials?
Yeah, they can just find me on LinkedIn, or they can find me on Instagram. Probably the best way to get in contact with me. Yeah. Just hit me up if you need help or support.
Yeah, cool. And I will also, guys, anyone who's sort of listening to this back, either on the video or the podcast, I will put link to your Instagram in the show notes as well, so people can find it. But lots of positive comments in the chat. So thank you so much for giving up your Sunday evening for us, Jack. I really appreciate it, especially when I'm all gruff and everything from the last day as well. Yeah. So but yeah, thanks for everything you shared, and also thanks for I felt so relaxed there. I'm now thinking, what did I say in the middle of that? Did I say anything too controversial? It was like we were at the pub. I loved it. I really, they're my favorite type of interviews. So, thank you so much for hanging out and sharing all that with us.
Hopefully we can do it soon, Joel, again.
Yeah, no, everyone's always welcome back, but I always feel like every now and then you'll get guests where you think, we only just scratched the surface. So yeah, and maybe if next time you're doing sort of we can carry on that advocacy theme stuff. So next time you've got a big project or you're doing something really cool, drop me a message and we'll get you in to talk about it, and you can tell us about that experience, and maybe we can inspire other people to sort of share their stories as well.
All right, great. Nice one, Joel. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Lots of positive messages there in chat. So they'll start appearing now. But the ones that I saw, we did feature some on screen. That's what I meant to say. Great interview from Ricky. So easy to listen to. Near Snuffle. It was a great interview. Thanks, guys. Yeah, you can tell we already knew each other, which you can always tell on these things. It made it a lot easier. And yeah, there was parts there where I felt like I was being interviewed, which was amazing because at least it mixed up a little bit, and we didn't need to do the whole journey. I know we like hearing the whole diagnosis journey and everything on here, but obviously when we're doing this every single Sunday night, we don't also want to bore you guys with the same format. So sorry, I'm just moving something on my desk. So I thought it was really nice just to have a different vibe. It just felt like we were around a table at a pub chewing the fat about advocacy, which was awesome. And I hope I don't get too many emails in my inbox after some of the things we said, but it's true. The points we raised regarding home delivery services, the way that advocates, I feel, personal opinion, it's not opinion of anyone else, but personal opinion, that we can be held back a little bit. How people the stuff that Jack's doing is really important, and how it fills that gap. There'll be things he says that I didn't know. There'll be things I say that he didn't know, and we fill in with a cement in the system. But I don't always think that's given enough credit for the likes of what Jack is doing. So yeah, hopefully that was really useful, guys. A big thank you to Simon, who became a YouTube member during that. Thank you so much for joining the Chronic Pain Club on YouTube. It helps support the show. Anyone who's new to this, it's like Twitch subs, but YouTube, they call it members, because heaven forbid they all use the same terminology. So thank you so much for that, Simon. You'll now be able to use some emotes in chat, but more importantly, you just help us put the show on. This stuff doesn't all magically happen overnight. You might have noticed as well, guys, that for the first time this week we had events. So if you're on our Facebook page, you will now see an event come up, and you'll get a countdown when it's coming. If you joined the show early, there'll be a countdown, like a waiting room for the live show. So we try, and everything we get, every bit of resource and time and minute of the day I get, we're trying to improve this, because we genuinely can see the value this has, not just the conversations you guys have in chat, but the conversations we have with the guests, but also when we put the video and the podcast out there, we get lots of feedback back regarding that, and we know we can reach a lot more people. So I'm really trying, and I feel like you guys that are with us already and the backbone of this community, this peer support community, people need to meet you guys. The stuff you talk about, the stuff you're doing is so special. What we're doing over in Discord and in live chat on the streams over on YouTube here, I really want other people to find that, because I think if I was that patient 4 or 5 years ago, it would have blown my mind coming across a community like this. So that's why I'm putting all the effort in, so we can try and reach more patients who need it, meet them where they are, etc. So a couple of things to note. There'll be Chronic Pain Club be disrupted a little bit over the next couple of weeks. I'm off to EULA, not this Tuesday, the Tuesday after. I'll be there for most of that week in Italy, which is amazing. I'm going over there with IFBA to raise awareness of a psoriatic disease awareness project I'm a member of the board on. So that'll be awesome, because I get to rub shoulders with rheumatologists, pharma, decision makers, etc. We touched upon it a little bit there. It's patients can go. It's really cheap. It's one of the few conferences where patients can go, and it's actually quite cheap. But there's lots of barriers still. And I could sit at home and bitch and moan on social media about that. I do that sometimes as well. Or I could go there and try and have a, work on the issue from the inside. So I'm really grateful of that opportunity. I'm really looking forward to some of the conversations we're going to have about psoriatic disease awareness, highlighting the new treatment papers that have come out on treat to target and things like this. So it'll be super exciting, but I'm also hoping to do some podcasts while I'm out there. So I'll try and grab some audio from people I meet, people in the conference. For anyone that was with us at EADV last year in Milan, by the way, the two conferences are in the exact same conference hall. Imagine that. I get invited to two conferences and they're at the same flaming place. Don't even get to see different walls. But at least I'll know my way around, I suppose. At least I know my way around. So yeah, I'll be out there. So we should have a Chronic Pain Club next week. Let me have a look. I will tell you who we've got. I really should know this stuff, shouldn't I? But I do have chronic illness and brain fog and everything else. So on the 28th, we've got Kevin Gibbons joining us, guys. If he's still in chat, they're not going to be happy that I've forgotten that. So for those of you that are over on Twitch will know Gibbo will be joining us. Sorry, Kevin, I forgot that was next week. After yesterday, I don't even know what day of the week it is at this point. It's amazing I'm here tonight, to be honest. So yeah, we've got the K-Train joining us next Sunday night, which will be awesome, because you guys know how I feel when we get someone from the community join us to talk. So really looking forward to that. And then the next Sunday I'll be off, because I'll be flying back in the day before. So I'll be taking a break the Sunday after. Same goes for streams. We'll be doing streaming as normal, I think, next week. But they will get disrupted the week after. But I might try and do some live stuff while I'm there. I will have some downtime in places, so I'll try and do some live stuff while I'm there. Great to see Lauren still lurking around. So yeah, guys, I think that's all from me tonight. As tempting as it probably is for me to jump on Minecraft, I think it'd probably be silly when I've done a 7-hour stream yesterday and I've now done over an hour tonight. I think I probably need to get out of this room for a bit. If not, you won't see me tomorrow night. I just won't have any enthusiasm to be back on here tomorrow night. But yeah, so you'll find us over on Twitch on Mondays, Thursdays and Fridays from 7 o'clock. And yeah, if you want to join these awesome people you see here in chat, you can do so there with the link on screen tomorrow night from 7 o'clock. I know I want to, Ricky, but every week you rope me in and it's not always good for my health. Great interview, learned a lot, awesome. And hopefully, Lauren, you appreciated all the compliment and the stuff in America, because although, you know, I don't really want to go down the private healthcare route, there is definitely some good stuff happening over there in terms of how they regard you know, people who are independent advocates like me. Oh, and also because I saw an email come in the last 10 minutes, whoever's still nominating me for those WeGo Social Health Awards, thank you so much. We just got nominated for a new category according to my emails. So it's the last day to do it. I think nominations and endorsements close tomorrow, the 22nd, but that'll be a US time, so maybe 5 p.m. US. Don't quote me on that. Don't take the risk. If you're thinking about nominating our community, go do it now. Should I get the link? If I had any sort of professionalism, I'll give you guys the link, wouldn't I? Hopefully this will work in chat. But yeah, last chance. Let me know if that doesn't work, by the way, guys. Last chance today to nominate us. Thank you so much for all the lovely comments over there. Genuinely, they proper make me well up. I don't do this for any sort of like credit or anything. I do it to reach people and put people in touch with each other. Just seeing you guys talk and play Minecraft and everything makes me feel like a proud dad. So yeah, anyone who's been thinking about doing that, you've got your last sort of 24 hour, not even that now, less than 24 hour warning. I really do appreciate it, because it's without doubt that when we won the WeGo Award in 2021 for our Facebook page, it opened doors. It just did. It shouldn't have to, but it did. And people suddenly took us a lot more seriously and what we're doing. So yeah, that's awesome, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you for everyone's time. Thank you for everyone who's hung out in chat tonight. Thank you for everyone who's watched us despite watching us all day yesterday for the AA Arthritis Day stream. I really felt like that was a feather in our cap and just give me confidence to sort of maybe say yes to a few more things in that area going forward. So yeah, if you need a host, we're ready for it. We've done that sort of thing now. I tell you what, tomorrow night, guys, on Twitch, I'm really going to miss having an audio producer in my ear giving me countdowns and stuff. So yeah, Snuffle, if you can up your game, that'd be great. That'd be great. I can't tell you how nice it was, Sandra. I'm going to go for a bathroom break. You'd come back and they'd be like, right, you're going live in 3, 2, 1. And so yeah, Snuffle, near cheeks, that's the sort of level that we've got to aim for now. We've got all the glossiness on the stream visually. We now got to get the back end production. It was very slick. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, and off the back of that, and speaking to him, I've spec'd up what it's going to take me to go over to a mixer, an XLR audio setup, as opposed to the whole USB thing, so we can stop having this issue where I can't hear Minecraft or I can't hear the music, or etc. etc. It is extortionate amounts of money, but it's in my Amazon basket. We'll see. If I can get a gig out of going to EULA, I'll buy it and we'll upgrade. But for now, I'll just sit in my Amazon basket. I refuse. I think you do enough already, Nia, to be fair. I think you do enough already. You know, whilst all this is going on, you're downstairs dealing with a mad puppy and putting a toddler to bed. That's more than enough for one person. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Feel free to head over to Discord. Like I say, if we can get some more boosts, we will be able to eventually get a proper Discord link, which will be awesome. Because if not, we have to get to 1,000 members, which feels like a long way off. I'll probably be like claiming my pension by the time that happens. But thank you for everyone for being awesome. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night, and I will see you all tomorrow night on Twitch from 7 o'clock. All right. Good night. Bye-bye.